And welcome again to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Shakinoni Nichols, and I will be your host. So thank you guys so much for joining me here today on Unfiltered Vision News. We got a lot of news to cover and some things that I really wanted to, share with you guys and flush out because right now, you know, people are calling it a protest. And people are calling it a riot. That is it really? You know, talking about protests. Protest? Talking about protests. Not a riot, but protest. You know, maybe civil unrest would be a better word for it because these protests are anything but peaceful. And I definitely wanted to share with you guys some videos that I had started watching over the weekend when I don't want to say things have erupted right into the civil unrest we see, but I did want to go back to where, oh, President Trump had deployed the National Guard to assist ICE at the detention facility that's located in Compton. And for those of you that don't live in California, Compton is about roughly, I would say about 40 minutes from the downtown Los Angeles area. So when a lot of people say Los Angeles, they just think it's just this one, big or small city that encompasses a small area, and it really doesn't. Oh, thank you so much, April, for reposting the stream going on. Appreciate you, Miss April Showers. Definitely give her a follow here on X. But yeah, so I wanted to share that with you guys. And so I am going to share a video with you. Disclaimer, there is some language in here. So for those of you that are Christians, the cussing, it's there. So I'm just warning your ears now. But I think this gentleman makes a good point about what's happening with the National Guard. And then I'll get it a little bit more into the video that I wanted to share with you guys. So here you go.
Idea what's going on in LA. I have been on the ground for the past 4 days. I just got back from the federal building. I was detained twice. The National Guard are not being deployed against U.S. citizens. The Marines are not being deployed against U.S. citizens. They are being stationed at federal buildings across the country where riots are taking place. They do not leave the steps of those buildings. They do not touch the sidewalk. They are there as security for those buildings. Those buildings are federal property. They are allowed to operate there. If you do not storm the federal building and you do not attack the National Guard, you will not be attacked by the National Guard. They will not retaliate against you if you do not threaten them. And by threaten, I mean try to break their ranks. I stood 2 inches from the National Guard today. They did nothing to me. I watched several other people who were protesters stand 2 inches from the National Guard today. They did nothing. If you do not try to enter the federal building, they will not do anything. They are not allowed to operate in a law enforcement capacity because the cities that these buildings are in will not allow them to. Calm down and stop being stupid. I'm Cam Higbee, and I'm an investigative journalist. I cover protests around the country.
Yes. So I wanted to, bring him up and shout out to Mr. Higbee for just, putting himself in harm's way, right? To cover a lot of what's going on, because sometimes we don't think about the journalists that are there independent or those that work for, I would say, I won't call them archaic media. That's not nice. But I will say established media, right? Your NBC, ABC, CBS, and even some of the more local established media outlets. Like in California, there's KCAL9 and KTLA. They are more independent, but they are still well established. I mean, they've been around for well over, 50 years within the general metropolitan area of Los Angeles. So what he brought up was very factual. The National Guard, they're literally like, I would say, beefed up security guards, right? They are the security guards for law enforcement on the ground, right? They are security guards for the federal building. As Mr. Higbee stated, they are protecting federal property. But I want to show you guys and share with you a video. Now, this video is definitely, I want to say it's from Sunday, because even though it says 3 days ago, I think the way lives roll out with YouTube is once it's finished and it's rendered, it once it's done, it'll put it a day ahead. So today's Thursday, so it probably didn't finish rendering till sometime on Monday morning. You know what I'm saying? After midnight. So Monday was its start date. So that's why it says 3 days ago, but this was actually on Sunday. Sorry, excuse me. And as you can see in the background, the building's defaced, right? With all kinds of words and languages saying our city. And here's my thing. What are you protesting for? Are you protesting for the right to just destroy property in America? Because see, that's what you're doing. You know, we've had um the Apple store was overrun in downtown LA. The Adidas store was run down. And I don't know if people realize how long it took to actually build up the downtown Los Angeles area. See, after the riots, the downtown area was pretty seedy. There were a few buildings down there, like, banker buildings and real estate investment companies were down there, but it was a trash fest. Okay. It was trashy. Like, I didn't want to go down there. And the only reason I did is because I was going to the garment district. And if you ever get a chance to just go to the garment district, you will get some nice stuff. Just saying. Oh, good morning. Hey. Hey, Jojo. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, my video. Thank you so much for the shout out this morning. Hi to you. Sorry that my video and everything is getting a little bit delayed. The internet is what it is. I'm still trying, y'all. But anyway, to get back to it, so to see people literally destroying and stealing property again after the hard work that has been put forth, by the mayor, by the governor to clean up the city is disheartening. It really is. Because again, what are you people, why are you there? And a lot of them are paid protesters, by the way, and we'll get into that in just a second. But yeah, I just wanted to play a little bit of this for you. I'll play two parts. So I just wanted you guys to see what's happening on the ground, because I know a lot of this isn't covered by the established media. Yeah. So right now, it's pretty early. It's pretty peaceful. This would have been, I would say, probably maybe 7 a.m. in the morning. And shout out to the Independent. Make sure that you subscribe and follow them. Let me subscribe right now. Let me just get that in so I can continue to follow them. But there was another part of the video I wanted you guys to see. Here's Maxine Waters. She was definitely there. Let me let it catch up for a second. Let's see. Okay. And again, she's calling these peaceful protests. Do you see the buildings behind her? Do you see the building? Defaced. Okay. Defaced building. I just wanted to point that out. Now, why would she talk to the National Guard? She knows they can't. She knows better. She knows they can't address her. Are you serious? Are you serious right now? Maxine, ma'am. No, they can't talk to you. They can't talk to anyone. The only person that they can talk to is their reporting officer. Calling, and writing things like this, like kidnappers, death to America. Okay. help me. You want to stay here. You want to demand to stay here, but you want death to our country. Like I need you to make it make sense. I need you to make it make sense. It makes no sense. It makes no sense what these people were doing. And see, like I said, this reporter right here, I'm not sure, what outlet he's from, but it, again, as you can see, they're trying to get angles where you don't see all this stuff in the background because they want you to believe that this what's going on in Los Angeles is peaceful. They want you to believe what's going on in Los Angeles is all Donald Trump's fault. No, Donald Trump did not allow people to deface the buildings. He sent the National Guards to protect the buildings and the people coming in and out of the buildings. That's not what Maxine Waters is there to do, by the way. Okay, let me fast forward, fast forward. I wanted you guys to see this lady. She's in this dinosaur outfit. And I thought what she was doing was very disrespectful. There she is. Okay, there she is. Here we go. Oops. Sorry, guys. I didn't realize it was still spinning. Let me see. Now, you guys may not be able to make out what she's saying, but she was saying that she would, that her relative would die if they saw what was happening. Apparently she's decided to bring in the Nazi prison camp into this conversation, which has no relevance to this conversation because nothing like that is happening right now. Again, I played you the earlier video from the reporter. The National Guard is there to protect the building. That's all they're there to do. I'm glad that they were there. I won't belabor the point with this video, but later on in this video, they actually had to open a space so that ICE agents could get back into the detention center and also leave because these individuals were not leaving. They were blocking traffic. They were being completely disruptive. Again, you can protest, but you cannot be disruptive, right? Because at that point, when you're disruptive, is it a riot? Is it civil unrest? I mean, what are we really, really doing in our country? This is crazy. This is crazy. Hey, good morning, Miss Sassy. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning. So today is Mighty Men Thursday. And what we're going to do is we're going to have open mic. So if there's anyone that would like to join our program, please DM me on X. I will check my direct messages and I will send you the link. And you can come up on stage. You can choose to show your face or not. We can always use a little bit of a logo for you when you come on to the stage. But I want to definitely hear from our men out there, and just whatever topic you would like to talk about. If you want to, talk about the riots or if you want to talk about just anything else that's going on here in the United States. So those are the videos that I wanted to share with you guys. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I wanted to share something with you guys. You're going to think it's not funny. It really isn't funny. I shouldn't laugh about it. But I just kind of want to show you where we're at in society, that we are definitely living in 1984. And if any of you got that reference, you know exactly what I'm saying and what I'm talking about. So I'll see you guys on the other side. And Thanks again for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. And we are back. Thank you so much again for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. I am your host, Dr. Shakinoni Nichols. And so I wanted to go over a post that was done. And it's kind of, it's getting some traction. It's going viral. Oh, good morning, sweet sister. How are you? Thank you so much for reposting. Good morning. Good morning. So all right. So let's get into it. So I don't know if many of you have seen this viral post. I have. I came across it. So I wanted to let me go ahead and share my screen. So you guys know how I like to share my screen on here. So it says a Craigslist offering $6,500 to $12,500 a week for high-risk mystery jobs went viral in June 2025, but it was later revealed to be a prank. The ad, which appeared to be linked to Los Angeles immigration protests, was actually part of a prank podcast called Goo F Con 1, created by Joey LaFleur. The ad was posted before the protest began and was not related to the protest. The prank ad was shared as proof of protest being staged, but it was later clarified that the ad was not protest related. The ad promised between $6,500 and $12,500 per week for participants in a mysterious unit that would be activated only when the situation demands it. The language is intentionally aggregated, and many online users interpreted it literally. The ad has since been removed from Craigslist, and it was removed. But the way it looked to me, it made it seem like it wasn't real at all, right? It says the ad was probably it's been removed, and it was removed from Craigslist. But I'm going to show you guys that it was actually a real ad. And so during the time it was up, it got to this website called let me enlarge it, called AR15.com. Yes, there is a website out there called AR15, guys. Crazy, right? But somebody, posted, reposted it here. And so this was like, I guess maybe midnight or no, in the morning, 11:59 a.m. on the 9th. So, that would have been Monday. It says, we are forming a select team of the toughest dudes in the area, blah, 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 blah. So some of this language was actually in the Craigslist post. And I'm kind of like, wow, interesting. So it made its round over the internet. That's all I'm trying to show. And it was actually a legitimate link, as you can see here. Totally legit. But I wanted to see the actual post, and I was kind of upset, and I was like, darn it, I can't find this post, because if you click on this link, it goes to this page, and it's been removed once it comes up. Sorry. So it's been flagged for removal. So I was like, well, how can I see the original? Well, they have this little thing called the Wayback Machine. And it's interesting because people never really use this when they're coming out and trying to call people crazy people and say, that never happened. We have the Wayback Machine. The internet's forever, by the way. And I think people forget that the internet's kind of forever. Don't do anything silly out here. I'm just saying. I have no regrets, though. It is what it is. It is what it is. Okay. So I'll let it come up here. Now, no, it's kind of tiny. Let me get some. Okay. So as you can see, 4 days ago, it was legit. Totally legit. And when I say legit, because they're saying, oh, it was just this, kind of false thing that came up and blah, blah, blah. Well, somebody put it up here and somebody took the time to put it. They took a lot of time to do this, right? And what's being posted on X, if you've seen it going around, it really only goes to this part that says what we are looking for. But you'll see the bulk of this, the 6,500 to 12,500 per week. The bravery, liability, physical mentality, da 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 da, and send how to apply and all this other stuff, right? And then it shows here, because it goes into 4 days ago when it was originally posted. So it was originally posted on the 5th at like 4:20 in the afternoon. So yeah. So like I said, and there are people that do troll these things, but I wanted to just encourage you guys, when you do see certain things on X or out there and you're not sure where they are from, or by the time you get to them the link may be destroyed, just go on the Wayback Machine, take that link, go on the Wayback Machine, and yeah, and you literally can just Google it and just Google Wayback Machine and you'll be able to legitimize these links, because I found it fascinating that they were so on it, like, no, this isn't real. No, you shouldn't be doing this. I was like, wait a minute, but this happened. But now you're just completely delegitimizing it. How illegitimate is it? That's all I want to know, because we do know that there are paid protesters. Okay. We do know that there are people out there making money off of the demise of other people right now. And like I said, this was promoted on this website here. It says, I thought you were joking. Bonus experience, military, except for Marines. We don't work with Marines anymore. Long story. Law enforcement or private security background in crisis situations, tactical response, or high intensity roles, experience facing trained opposition, military or otherwise. Yeah. So this person was just like totally trolling the whole experience, right? Because it's laughable that it was put out there. And it was laughable that people took it seriously, but people are taking it seriously. But then again, was it not real? Or did it become not real because it got caught? That's the thing. I know they always want to say like this was not legitimate. Yeah, we got your not legitimate. Y'all are a trip. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Y'all are a trip out there in the streets, just deceiving people, and it isn't good just to deceive anybody. Now, I did have some other videos I wanted to play. I'm not going to play them. You know why? Because my internet's not working right. And we're just going to have to go into the news, you guys. We're just going to have to go into the news. So I know I've spent some time on the riots. If you guys have any questions about it, let's definitely chat about it. Again, today is Mighty Men Thursday and it is open mic. So if you do want to come up on the stage, go ahead and DM me if you are on X, and you have to be on X because that's the one I see. And so just DM me and say, hey, send me the mic, and I will send you the link and bring you up here on stage so you can join us here on the show. But in breaking news, Israel reportedly preparing to strike Iran. U.S. evacuates personnel in Iraq. There's just so much going on. Does anybody else feel overwhelmed out there by the news? We've got civil unrest going on here in, the United States. And in 2 days, they're going to be having these little civil unrest events. And that's what I'm calling them now. I'm not calling them protests. Because these people don't want anything. They want to destroy the country, but they don't want anything. Like when Black civil rights leaders were out there, they actually wanted something. They really actually wanted something. They wanted civil rights. They wanted voting rights, right? And they got it. And they were peaceful. They had dogs attacked on them. They had water sprayed on them. They were attacked. But they remained peaceful, right? To the point of harm. Okay. But they got something out of it. What are we trying to get out of this? Somebody needs to help me because I don't see anything beneficial coming out of this. I see death and destruction coming out of this, but there's nothing beneficial. What do you want? You want us to protect people that are here illegally in our country. You want us to make sure that we're giving you, aid and comfort by giving you food, shelter, and a means to, continue to make money. You want us to do that. And yeah, you want us to support criminal behavior. I mean, that's all I see. And if I'm missing something, please tell me, share, let me know. Let me know because, oh my goodness. Hey, good morning, Mr. BDCO. Desmore, Desmore, Desmore. You're going to have to look, we're going to have to chat because I need to know how to pronounce that. But good morning, sir. It says the idea came from somewhere. Yeah, you're not wrong. It's crazy. It's insane what's happening. But let's check out what's happening in Israel. You know, and here's my thing. I'm like, what? Why are we there? Why are we involved? We've got enough nonsense going on over here. My goodness. It says Israel is fully ready to launch an operation into Iran, according to a new report from CBS News with left-leaning bias, prompting the U.S. to evacuate some personnel in the region. So, for the details, CBS reportedly was informed by U.S. officials who also said Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff still plans to meet with Iran for a sixth round of nuclear talks in the coming days. The U.S. urged Americans, including non essential government workers, to evacuate Iraq on Wednesday as it feels Iran could retaliate against U.S. targets there. So, key quotes from Trump spoke publicly about Iran on Wednesday, telling reporters Americans are advised to evacuate because it could be a dangerous place and we'll see what happens. Regarding Iran's ability to develop a nuclear weapon, he said, "We're not going to allow that." Iran's defense minister said on Wednesday, some officials on the other side threatened conflict in negotiations don't come to fruition. If a conflict is imposed on us, all U.S. bases are within our reach and we will boldly target them in host countries. Okay. So, for context, U.S. officials also warned Israel was preparing to strike Iran in late May. About a week later, Trump said he had asked Netanyahu not to attack Iran while the U.S. pursued nuclear negotiations. I told him this would be inappropriate to do right now because we're very close to a solution, he said. And this is how the media covered it. So, as of very early Thursday morning, CBS News report was not widely covered by outlets from the right. So, a town hall, which leans right, noted a Wednesday report from CNN, which leans left, that said Trump tells Netanyahu to end Gaza war and stop Iran threats. Town hall added, if Israel were to strike Iran, this looks like it would reportedly be against Trump's wishes. It's crazy. It's one of those things that's like, I don't want us involved in this. I understand why President Trump is involved in this, and he's just trying to make peace and get people to the table. But you've got all of this, I don't know. Leaders are who they are, right? And they want to stand up and remain strong for their countries. But doing it in a way that's threatening other countries that have been there to support you is maybe not always the best thing, right? Maybe not always the best thing, but here we are. President Trump is doing what he can to de-escalate the situation because that's all he really can do. He can't tell people what to do. He can only get in there to negotiate, to say, hey, you guys need to really come to the table and talk to one another. So this is something that they have called center clip. I have not tried the center clips yet, y'all, and I'm not going to do them today. I know I talked about them yesterday. I just kind of read what's going on in there, but I'm like, nah, I'm not going to because somebody might say something. I'm like, oh my goodness, what is that about? But Terry Moran at ABC, after calling Trump advisor Stephen Miller a world-class hater, what? Terry Moran is out at ABC. Is this a sign legacy media is addressing bias or just damage control? What else must they do to regain trust? Okay, really? I missed this one, y'all. Did y'all hear about this? They just gonna fire folks? Mm. It doesn't make it any better for you. It doesn't. You can fire everybody. Still doesn't help the fact that you are propagandizing the American public, ABC. And y'all been doing that for a long time. And it's on record that you do it. It's on record that you've worked with the CIA, the NSA, FBI, against the American public, by the way, to just kind of cull us and lull us to sleep with everything. With everything. Now you want to fire somebody? He called him a world-class hater. Really? You're going to fire somebody over that? Like, that's just nonsense. Like, that doesn't even make sense. It's like, okay, we're going to use this person as a sacrificial lamb to regain the trust of the American public. Nope. Nope. None of that works here. None of that works here. Y'all have been a mess for a long, long time, ABC. And firing somebody over something like this is not going to win you any brownie points at all. So, here's an article that says, how will Trump's immigration crackdown affect American businesses? Well, if some of you guys were on a space that I was in, I want to say it had to be Sunday. Seems like it was Sunday. And they were talking about how now, because some of these day workers are not there, and guess what? That opens up areas for Americans to do those day worker jobs. And apparently they're paying pretty well, $500 to $700 at these different construction sites. So I would definitely encourage people to take advantage of that. If you are an American citizen, go get your work on, go get that done, because these other people, they're being moved out. They are being returned to their home countries. And guess what, everybody? When an American makes money here and they spend money here, guess where the money is? It's here. It's not over in some foreign land. I heard some rumblings of them wanting to raise I guess there's a rate that you have to pay, like if you send money overseas or whatever. And they were going to raise it to, I guess, maybe like 5% or something. I guess it was a low number, like 3%. And the Mexican president, she got upset about it. Like, how dare you? And they were like, okay, let's raise it to 15%. I'm like, look, let's raise it to 80%. I want complete deterrence. Okay. For anybody to send a dime out of this country, it's going to cost you 80%. So the people that you send the money to, they'll get 20 cents of that dollar. How about that? Look, make it hurt. Make it painful. Make people rethink sending any kind of money outside of this country. 80% across the board. You send $2 to somebody outside of this country, and people be like, well, wait a minute. What if I have a child, or what if I have a husband or wife, or, and they need access to money? Do you guys have a bank? I'm sure you do. And those banks are normally over there in certain countries, right? And so you can get the monies that you need, right? Right? I'm just saying. Yeah. We're talking about that whole Western Union situation where people were sending, $100, $150, and they're complaining about 5%. Raise it to 50% and see how much money gets sent out of this country. That's all I'm talking about. Make it hurt. Painful. Okay. So how will Trump's immigration crackdown affect American businesses? President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown has created questions for economists, employers, and workers as how the decrease of migrant workers may impact the job market and the economy. So, labor losses in the healthcare sector, an analysis by Politico, which is leaning left bias, suggested that both authorized and unauthorized immigrant workers make up a disproportionate share of the healthcare workforce, particularly in areas that already experience labor shortages, such as long term care for the elderly and those with disabilities. Politico claimed that the Trump administration's effort to end humanitarian parole and temporary protected status could devastate the healthcare sector. No, it's not. And I'm going to tell you why. Because we have plenty of American citizens that are sitting at home that don't have those jobs because they want to pay people half the rate. Now you're going to have to pay people because you need them and they've been there to do the work. Oh, and guess what you're not going to do? You're not going to force them to get an injection. That's another reason people were sitting on the couch. Oh, we're going to talk about all the ugly stuff that the past administration did. Because see, what you don't realize is all those people that came over here illegally, yes, they were illegally here. They didn't have to get injected. And it was actually codified for them to not get injected with anything. And they were in the health care industry where they literally treat nurses and doctors like pincushions. Because guess what? They have to get injected with everything, you know, so they can protect their patients, even if some of those injections are lethal. Yeah, you were trying to replace all of us with these other humans. Not going to happen. Go home. Not going to happen. So, declining employment growth. The Wall Street Journal, which is Center, highlighted that employment rate has slowed in sectors that rely heavily on migrant workers, like construction and agriculture. However, it also pointed out that data and unauthorized migrant workers in difficult to collect is difficult to collect, sorry, because employers may not share accurate information about workers they pay under the table. Shocker. Unauthorized migrant workers may also be reluctant to participate in labor department surveys because they can't read English. Anyway, which is where most unemployment data comes from. Ultimately, it concluded that it is too soon to tell the impact Trump's crackdown will have on the labor force. Yeah, because you have a faux labor force. If you're paying people under the table, they're not counted at all. They're living in the shadows and in the darkness. But that's what y'all want. And guess what? Republicans, you were not off the hook for this because y'all ain't standing up against this. You want to call names and you want to throw shade, but you're not standing up against it because your companies benefit from this as well. Yeah, I'm going to need some of y'all to come outside and start really having good conversations. You know what's even better? Legislation. Yeah, that part. I think you need to go back to that 1996 bill that said nobody that comes over here to this country can ever again get any type of aid from us. That means welfare, food stamps, housing, 2 cents. If you don't come over here with a job, you cannot be here. Period. That doesn't mean get here and then look for a job. Nope. You better have a job that's going to pay you at least 80,000 a year. And that's the minimum. Minimum. Because with 80,000 a year, you can at least take care of yourself and you will not be on any type of government aid. If you can't do that, you can't come here. Period. And I know people are going to be like, "Well, who's going to, sweep up my floors?" Maybe you should. Maybe you should take that up and stop living, and having labor in your house. Get out of the slave mentality, liberal. Yeah. Talking to you, everybody in Martha's Vineyard. Yeah. Learn how to do your own stuff. Learn how to clean up after yourself. Learn how to mop your floors and do all of the things. Okay. And stop worrying about who's going to take care of your kids and bring them back and forth to school. Why don't you hire an American citizen to do that? That can actually speak English to your child. Yeah. And take care of them. Oh, no, you don't want to do that because you don't want to have to pay somebody that's actually degreed in childcare. Yeah, you don't want to have to pay out the money. Gotcha. So higher wages for native born workers. An analysis, the Heritage Foundation, which is right, more optimistically claims that the immigration crackdown could lead to higher wages for native born workers. The analysis quoted Vice President J.D. Vance's argument that removing unauthorized migrants who are willing to work for low wages will encourage employers to increase wages, saying plenty of Americans are both willing and capable of taking such jobs if they were offered at living wages. Exactly. Exactly. Because, see, most Americans aren't living 15 people to a house. They're just not. They might be living, there may be 2 to 3, maybe 3 to 4 to a house. Okay. And the wages need to keep up with the cost of living. We are completely upside down right now. And people want to buy a home. They don't want to necessarily rent forever. But, I live here in McDonough and on the border of Stockbridge, and all they're doing is putting in apartments. That's all they're doing. They're putting in apartments, they're putting in these condos, and they're calling them apartment homes. That's not a home. And they're $300,000. No backyard, no front yard. It literally, it's an overglorified apartment. That's it. And they want people to pay $300,000 for that. And if you don't have it, oh, no problem. We'll lease it to you. Is that leasing it to own it, or is that just leasing it to lease it? Yeah. I mean, but this is the mentality that they're getting people in. You will own nothing and you will like it. And, I don't like that mentality here in the United States. There are people, yes, that did fight to get from the countries that they were in to have a better life for their families. But now you same individuals need to come here if you're going to come here with a job. And not only come here with the job, if you intend to be here, you need to apply for citizenship the right way, because we're not taking any more people here illegally. Because, see, with all these protests that are happening and all of these things happening around our country, they really want to destabilize the country and kind of, spread everything out so that it just falls apart and rebuild it. You are never going to have your dystopian dream. You're not going to have it, because there's too many Americans fighting to keep it and protect that dream. There are still those of us that do believe in that dream, that you can come here and that you can survive and build up this country. But we're not going to do it with illegal immigration. We're not. They're waving the Mexican flag in California, saying, "This is ours. This is ours." April, she actually said it in a space that we were doing. She said, "You lost." And you did. What? What are we doing? Oh, good morning. Anki said, "Good morning, news for Foundational Black Us." Oh, thank you so much for that. And Sean, AI, who's a filmmaker and AI automation, thank you so much for reposting the stream. Appreciate you, sir. But yeah, a lot of people want us to give up on the American dream. And I'm here to tell you, we're not giving up. But there's some of y'all, you don't have to go home, but you're going to have to get up out of here. Okay? Because this is not your home. And you've proven that you truly have no respect for the country. And that lets us know that you shouldn't be here. I know I've belabored the whole thing with the riots, but it says LA imposes curfew amid unrest over immigration raids. Okay, so if this is where there are, so there's unrest over the raids. Well, the raids aren't going to stop because they're doing their job. Okay, we voted to get y'all up out of here. That's what we voted for. We're like, nope, there are too many people here illegally. It's out of control. They need to go home. I don't even know how this curfew is working because if anybody's seen any videos, the curfews are laughable. Absolutely laughable. They have no control over the city. They'll like shuffle them away from the city council building. And by the time they've shuffled them from the building, they just made a gigantic circle and they just come back around. There's too many of them. Now, they did make some arrests. We did see some people getting arrested, but they're going to be let right back out. They are. They're not going to keep them in jail for protesting. They're going to let them back out. And then once they're let out, right? Are they going to come back for their court case? And if they don't come back for their court case, whatever. If it's a bench warrant, whatever. Like when I tell you in LA, they have no respect for law enforcement. They have no respect for law enforcement. And I'm not just talking about the people that are here illegally. I'm talking about some of the people that are here legally. They have no respect at all. But they will call law enforcement if something's going on to help them. Saying. So Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass issued an overnight curfew on Tuesday. So it's Thursday now. So she did this on Tuesday in response to escalating protests against President Trump's immigration raids. Los Angeles Police Department said it made 203 arrests for failure to disperse and 17 for curfew violations during the first night of curfew. Now, again, if anybody has watched these videos, there are thousands of people, not hundreds, thousands. Okay. So Bass said the curfew aims to address a surge in vandalism and looting accompanying the protest. Okay. It's civil unrest, y'all. It is expected to remain in place for several days. Since the protest began, authorities have arrested over 400 individuals, including 330 unauthorized immigrants and 157 people arrested for assault and obstruction, including one for the attempted murder of a police officer. I told you, in California, especially in LA, they do not have any respect for law enforcement at all. At all. Attempted murder? You're mad? Bass and Newsom that President Trump has, how should I say, actually tried to help law enforcement with protecting the building, right? With the National Guard, because they're just standing guard so that your police officers and your sheriffs and the sheriffs in the surrounding, cities and counties can help you guys because you're overrun. And you got somebody who wanted to murder a police officer, but you still want to turn around and call these peaceful protests. It's that part that just, I don't understand it. And Newsom is like, yeah, and Trump does that. And I'm like, bro, you have a failed state, sir. The whole state's upside down. They had an app years ago that would tell you where to avoid feces on the streets. I don't know if the app still exists because it's everywhere. Everywhere. You have a failed state. And if you think all this is going to help your presidential run in 2028, good luck on you. Good luck. Because, yeah, if you run for president, you know what's going to probably happen? Go ahead and do it. Because then it will help the redemption party, actually. Because no one won't want to be a Democrat and they won't want to be a Republican either. And they'll come to the redemption party and they'll actually turn things around because that's what we do. So please, Ron, please. So then we'll actually have a functioning government because nobody will be there for the Democrats, not absolutely a person. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. So, for context, the protests are in response to immigration raids carried out by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. These actions have been criticized by local officials, including California Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Bass. So you are shouting down this government entity that's supposed to be there to remove criminals from your state. Who have called on the Trump administration to end the raids. No, they're not ending the raids. They're doing their job. So here's my thing. You're interfering with the work of the government, while at the same time saying it's the government's fault that everything is happening the way it's happening in your state. I find it fascinating. I just really, really find it fascinating because the government, the people that you call on to get money, because no, we haven't forgotten how you wanted billions of dollars, Mr. Newsom. Yeah, calling on the federal government to give you money for your state, which you cannot keep in balance. You can't have a balanced budget in California at all. You want the money, but you want to blame the Trump administration for this nonsense that's going on. And at the same time, you want the raids called off when you have the most illegal immigration out of all the states in the union. Really? People are wild, y'all. Wild. So President Trump deployed 4,000 National Guard troops and 700 Marines to the city to aid local law enforcement in Los Angeles. Again, like the gentleman that I had brought up before, Mr. Higbee, they can't do anything. The Marines nor the National Guard will be doing anything. They can't. They're literally paid security to be there so that local law enforcement, including the sheriffs, including, I don't know if they have any state troopers there, but if they are there so that they can do their job, right? They'll defend the building. You guys do the work that you need to do. If you need to make arrests or if you need to, get the crowds managed and under control, we're just here to protect the building. That's it. So so this is how the media covered it. The BBC, which is center bias, shared details of the curfew and protests, including the number of arrests made and the ongoing tension between President Trump and Governor Newsom. Breitbart, which is on the right, highlighted support for Trump's actions, citing a poll showing that 59% of Americans supported Trump's decision to deploy the National Guard. So Trump has support in this. But to hear Newsom or even Mayor Bass say it, it's like, no, nobody wants you here. We all want you gone. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to salvage? So if you don't want the raids, are you protecting criminals? Because that's treasonous. Like it just is. Your state has a constitution that you don't get to run away from. And I went over this yesterday. Treason is giving aid and comfort to those that have invaded our country. That's treason. And you're giving these people aid and comfort. You were telling the federal government, hey, federal government, we want you to stop doing your job so we can get everything under control. It's not going to work that way. It's not going to work that way. It's gone. Like you have a failed city and state. So the Los Angeles Times, which leans left, focused on the timeline and impact of the curfew, as well as the toll on local businesses affected by looting and vandalism. your curfew's not helping. Because I want to say, and I just watched a video from Cash Jordan. If you guys follow him on YouTube, he was showing, and I want to say it was maybe Tuesday night. It may have been Monday night. Sorry, Monday night, which was like one of the first days of curfew. Not working. They broke into an Adidas store. They broke into a Mac store. They broke into the CVS, and a police car drove by. Just one. Because they can't stop the mobs of people. Like I said, there's 10 million people in the metropolitan area. How are you going to shut this down? They know they can overrun you. And it's because you support this illegal activity. You can't keep talking out of both sides of your mouths. Both of you, Newsom and Bass, you're talking out of both sides of your mouths. You keep saying that, there are people that are here that are immigrants that are hardworking. If they're here illegally, they need to go home, and you need to encourage that. You need to say, if you're here illegally, you need to self-deport. And if you don't self-deport, you will be deported, period. But you're not doing that. So you're sending this mixed message. And in all of that, you've got people paid to protest on the ground. They are paid to protest. It might not be $6,000, but they are paid to protest. I actually found the video for it. I'm sorry I didn't get to download it and share it with you guys, but yeah. So these things are happening. These things are happening in our country. And, it's really time. It's time for us to get back to the American citizens and what the American citizens need and how you need to keep American citizens safe, because you haven't kept us safe. And again, this falls at the feet of the Republicans and the Democrats. No one is safe on this one. You both are responsible for this debacle. President Trump is doing all he can to salvage the country, but he's not going to be here forever. Neither are any of us, for that matter. Before the time we are here, we have to make a decision, right? We really have to make a decision. Are we about saving our country and getting people up off the soil that shouldn't be here? Okay. That's real. That's where we need to be focused and where we need to be at. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
At All Sides, we believe All Sides, we give bias ratings for hundreds of media outlets. By freeing people from filter bubbles and providing different perspectives, we can all be better equipped to understand the world and each other. So how do we do it?
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday Eastern Time. My name is Dr. Shakinoni Nichols, and I'll be your host. So I was, looking through and found this article. So judge rejects Newsom's request to immediately halt Trump's troop deployment. Yeah, y'all. The judge stepped in. Remember, Newsom was like, we filed papers. We filed, and we are going to make him stop. You stop. That was Newsom. Okay. He was telling the president, you can't do that. And you just need to stop it. Judge was like, nope. Shut it down. You shut it down, y'all. So the federal judge has denied a request from California Governor Gavin Newsom for an immediate restraining order against the deployment of military personnel by the Trump administration in Los Angeles following immigration raids that sparked protests. So the details, U.S. District Judge Charles Bayer granted the Trump administration more time to respond to Newsom's filing, setting a hearing for Thursday, which is today. On Tuesday, Trump had ordered 700 active military Marines and an additional National Guard members to Los Angeles. Newsom's request aimed to prevent the use of federalized National Guard and activate duty Marines for law enforcement purposes on the streets of a civilian city to avoid irreparable harm to our communities. That is likely to result from troops enforcing immigration laws, right? So a Newsom spokesperson said the court did not deny or rule on the governor's request for a temporary restraining order. The court set a hearing for Thursday after the federal government and the state file additional briefs, and we anticipate the court will rule on the request for a TRO a short time later. So, for context, the Trump administration filed a notice of opposition to Newsom's request, branding it as legally meritless. This dispute has I'm sorry. This dispute has ensued amidst protests that erupted after immigration raids, with President Trump labeling the protesters as animals, paid insurrectionists, and agitators. I don't know about calling people animals. I know he's passionate, uh, President Trump, but just don't do anything that people can come after you and say they're calling you animal. Don't give them any fuel for the fire. Paid insurrectionists, yeah, they are paid agitators, right? I'm not sure if they're paid insurrectionists because that's a whole another legal issue and branding. I don't know who's with President Trump, but y'all need to help him with his branding. Okay, I need you to do your job, because I know what he means to say, but when you just allow him to say certain things, it sets a tone and a pace that y'all got to clean up. Okay, fix it. Do your job. That's what communications is for. Just saying. So the Washington Times, which leans right bias, emphasized the judge's decision to deny Newsom's request, noting that Trump has been given more time to respond to the filing. The article also included quotes from President Trump justifying the decision to deploy troops and warning other cities of similar action if protests disrupt immigration enforcement. Axios, which leans left, focused on the potential detrimental effects of the military deployment on communities as expressed in Newsom's request. It also highlighted the Trump administration's response, labeling Newsom's request as legally meritless. So here's the problem. I showed you guys the defaced buildings at the beginning of the program. And the reason why I needed to show you that is to show you why the National Guard is even there. See, when they were not there, the community, okay, whether they were paid or not, went and defaced the building. They were trying to deter ICE from doing their job. It's not like this is like a bootleg situation where they're just kind of like, back alley employees doing a job. Like, they are federal employees. They are under the jurisdiction and behest of the President of the United States, federal. Okay. And it is actually a crime to deface a federal building. So anybody who was out there tagging and spray painting and doing all that crazy, you will be caught. Karen Bass already said that. She actually said it. She was like, "Oh yeah, you'll get caught if you were out here tagging and spray painting. They'll find you. So wherever you're sitting at home, they'll find you. And if you are not here in this country illegally, you will be deported forever." They're so concerned about the due process part. Well, they're not getting their due process. Their due process is when they get caught. Are you here legally or illegally? I'm here illegally. Okay, then you're being deported. That's your due process. There is no court hearings and all of this nonsense and using our tax dollars against us. See, these things are being done in Germany and in France and in other parts of the world. I showed you guys the replacement migration document. Okay. Replacement migration means just that. And guess what country was not on there? South America wasn't on there. Mexico wasn't on that list for replacement migration, which means they're using humans from those areas to come to places like the United States to overrun it. They keep saying, oh, no, we just want people here, because of the aging populations. It's like, no, you've convinced us to have abortions and kill ourselves off and bring other people over here. Like that's it. That's the long and the short of replacement migration. If you want to know, that's what's going on. And we need to not buy into that nonsense. Okay, so I just wanted to read that, and that's fine. I think the argument from the Trump administration is going to be they're going to take the same route that they did when Alabama was going on. And at that time, like him or not, LBJ, he jumped in and sent the National Guard to protect the students that were going through integration at that time, so that they were protected, so they could get back and forth to school, so that people could get back and forth to work amidst the protests. And even though those people were wild, they weren't looting and destroying their town. Now they were spraying people down with hoses. I do remember some of those things going on. But they weren't destroying their town. They weren't destroying the city. Even though in their anger and disruption of their protesting, they were yelling all sorts of violent things, they weren't destroying things, right? And even though they did lose the argument, right? Integration happened. It went forward even in their anger. They didn't try to destroy things or people, right? They were angry, but they weren't shooting people. They weren't billy clubbing people. Now, there were some tussles that did happen. I'm not going to say that there weren't, but it wasn't violent like this. Okay. I did want to touch on this, though, with this whole Simone Biles and Riley Gaines thing over trans athlete argument. And I mean, I'm glad Simone has apologized, because when I first saw it, I was like, Riley, don't take the bait. Please don't take the bait on this one, because what's going to happen is you're going to be made to look like the bully in the situation, and you're going to have to apologize to Simone. So this is interesting that Simone Biles has apologized to Riley Gaines over the trans athletes argument. So gymnast, gold medalist Simone Biles has issued an apology to swimmer and conservative activist Riley Gaines following a heated exchange on social media over the involvement of transgender athletes in women's sports. So for the details, Biles initially responded to Gaines' criticism of a Minnesota high school softball team that won a championship game with a transgender pitcher, labeling Gaines a sore loser and truly sick for her opposition of transgender athletes in women's sports. Gaines has advocated for the exclusion of transgender athletes from women's sports since she tied with transgender athlete Leah Thomas in 2022 NCAA race. Good on her. She tied. That's what I'm talking about. Go ahead, Riley. Biles later apologized for getting personal with Gaines and clarified that she was not advocating for policies that undermine fairness in women's sports. Biles called for a balance between competitive equity and inclusivity in sports, stating that the current system fails to do so. Gaines accepted Biles' apology and added, "I welcome you to the fight to support fair sports and a future for female athletes. Little girls deserve the same shot to achieve that you had." So for some context, some organizations have complied with President Trump's executive order banning transgender women and girls from competing in women's sports, signed in February, while others have objected and filed lawsuits against such orders. Before I get to the rest of it, I just got to stop for a second. It's crazy that people are still advocating to have men and women's sports. That's what you're advocating for. We're not going to pretend. We're not going to make a special class. We're not going to give everybody, lollipops on this one. Okay. They are men, period. They are men. They are biologically men, and they should not be in women's sports. If they cannot compete with the other men, obviously they can't, then make a lane for yourself. But don't call yourself women ever, because you're not women. You're not. We need to just make that clear, period. Okay. And so this is how the media covered it. An advocate, which leans left bias, described Gaines as a transphobe, right? In contrast, Just the News, which leans right, characterized Biles' comments as attacks on Gaines, while the Daily Wire, which leans right, said leftists turned on Biles after her apology, calling her a traitor. See, here's the thing. We can have the conversation, and I think these young women just had that conversation out in the open. My whole thing is, when I saw it start, I was like, Riley, do not take the bait. Do not engage this person in conversation, because what's going to happen is no matter what you say, you're going to look like the bully, and they're going to turn on you and make you the bully, and you'll have to turn around and somehow apologize to Simone Biles. Like, don't take the bait. Do not take the bait. Okay. But unfortunately, Riley took the bait, and this is what they needed, right, to further their cause, and Biles apologizing. It wasn't capitulating to Gaines. I mean, Biles, she's entitled to her opinion. She is definitely entitled, but it's just an opinion. I mean, I don't really see Simone Biles out here organizing for transgender people. I don't. And if she is, show me. Right. Whereas Riley, she's out here actively opposing men in women's sports, because that's who these people are. They are men. They are not women. Putting trans on something does not make it so. Right. They're still men. A man wanting to be a woman is still a man. A woman wanting to be a man is still a woman. You can't trade out your parts. You can destroy yourself medically and physically, but you'll never be the opposite of what you are. You need to stop and love yourself, and stop trying to destroy yourself to be something that you will never become. So sad. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into some more news. But definitely, if there are any men that want to, as I said, join me on the stage, please send me a direct message on X, and I'll send you the link to the show, and you can join me. So thanks again, everybody out there who has joined the show and is watching out there and is, reposted this the space or the program. And we'll see you guys on the other side.
The browsers of today are broken. They've been overtaken by a barrage of sneaky and annoying ads, trackers that follow your habits, and cookies that build profiles, and all sorts of other internet clutter that's taking precedence over the content that you want to see. In fact, these useless bites can take up to a whopping 50% of page load times, with a third of it anxiously trying to learn more about you. To make matters worse, some ad blockers are even letting ads through when large advertisers pay them. But do you really want a leaky ad blocker? It's because of these very reasons that we developed Brave, a new browser that kicks internet crud to the curb and makes it faster, safer, and better to surf the web than your current browser. With Brave, everything you need is built right in. We integrated technology that automatically blocks trackers, annoying annoying ads, and shields everything that can cramp your style and destruct your privacy. With it, you can expect increased speeds nearly 2 times faster on laptops and up to 4 times faster on mobile. And unlike any other browser, Brave allows you to support your favorite publishers with automatic micropayments, so it's a win-win for you and your favorite sites. To top it all off, Brave is open source, because we truly believe it's our web and we need to fix it together. So ask yourself this question: do you want a web browser made for the internet of today? If so, try Brave. It's faster, safer, and ad-free.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. I am your host, Dr. Shakinoni Nichols. And so I wanted to look into another article that I came across talking about U.S. inflation rate and it's risen to 2.4% annually in May. Now, I know a lot of people are like, yeah, but prices going down, but yeah, we were gonna suffer inflation. We just were. I don't want to. I should say there's no escaping it. Unfortunately, it is going to take some time for inflation to go down, because we were definitely in a situation with the prior administration and even prior to the administration coming in with COVID. So when our whole system pretty much broke down, right? When goods and services were stopped, when they were telling people, you need to destroy these crops because of COVID, you need to kill off the chickens because of COVID, you need to, pour the milk on the ground because of COVID. This is the trickle down effect that we see. This is why a lot of people were like, you know what, guys, we need to self-govern. We need to make sure that we have our own crops. We need to make sure that we're getting our own foods. We need to make sure that we're getting our own supplies, because the supply chain had broken down, right? So that increased prices. You've also got shrinkflation going on. I don't know if anybody, sometimes people get snacks and chips and everything. A lot of it is just filled with air, and it's filled with less product than it was before. Just saying, these are things that have happened. So, inflation in the United States increased slightly in May, coming in at 2.4% on an annual basis, up from 2.3% in April. The consumer price index rose 0.1% in May compared to the previous month. Core prices, which exclude more volatile measurements of gasoline and food, were up 0.1% monthly and 2.8% annually, both lower than economist estimates. The report indicates that inflationary pressures in the U.S. economy continue despite progress in bringing inflation closer to the Federal Reserve's 2% target. Food prices rose 0.3% month over month and 2.9% annually. Some analysts have warned that President Trump's tariffs may cause consumer prices to rise more prominently over the summer as businesses pass along higher costs to consumers. Despite the slight increase in inflation, economists expect that the Federal Reserve will maintain steady interest rates at their meeting this month. So this is how the media covered it. Fox Business, which is lean right bias, focused on breaking down the data and did not mention the potential effects of President Trump's tariffs until the end of the article. The Wall Street Journal, which is center, said at the top of its article, year-over-year inflation edged up slightly in May after hitting a 4-year low in April, defying fears that the impact of President Trump's tariffs would start to show a rise in prices. While the New York Times, that leans left, noted at the top, businesses across the United States have for months warned that they would raise prices on their customers in response to President Trump's tariffs. The latest data show that it is happening only in a limited way so far, helping to keep a lid on inflation. And this is why, people years ago kind of saw this coming, and they're called preppers. I know y'all laugh at the preppers, but the preppers did this so they didn't have to go out and buy and consume anything in times like this because they already have it. They already have it at home. They have it in triplicate, duplicate, right? They can share it with their neighbors, or they have their own home gardens, or they just change the way they eat altogether and they don't consume certain products. See, I don't think what the larger businesses understand is that you can assume human behavior, but human behavior may not always play out the way you anticipate or the way you expect. So all of those individuals that you were expecting to come and buy from your store, guess what? Right now, some of them can't afford to. Some of them will be able to afford to later, but go ahead and raise your prices and see how many people are going to buy that stuff. Some people can't afford to buy that stuff, so they're not. And the other decrease that you're going to see is a lot of these people that were here illegally. See, they don't have that welfare anymore. So that's going to drop out. So you're going to be forced to lower your prices, even though you don't want to, because see, those consumers are gone. They're gone. See, what I want is I want everybody that was on the dole, because that whole temporary protected status and the being here on parole, that whole thing. See, those people were protected, but they were getting food stamps and cash aid. They were also getting housing. So for those individuals that are gone, right, they're gone. So they're no longer consumers. So that money's not coming into these stores, right? Now, shut it off. From anybody else here that's getting that money, shut it off. Yeah, we want those people shut off, because see, when those people are shut off, they don't have any choice. They're gonna have to go home. Right? They're trying to show how desperate they are by, fighting with the police, which is crazy. Okay, you keep fighting with the police, you're still gonna go home. But see, now that money, that artificial, and I call it artificial because it can be taken away. It's not like these people have jobs where they can actually go and afford to buy food in these places. So when that money's gone, businesses thinking that you're going to just trickle this down to the consumer, nobody has to buy your stuff. And you can't go out of business trying to, pass the buck along. Nobody has to buy this stuff. The consumer is no longer at your behest. And I think that's what businesses need to understand. So if you know of any smaller businesses out there, guys, check them out. Do the small businesses. Go to the farmer's market, right? And get your supplies and what you need. Start to alter your consumption, and don't just consume to consume. Learn how to make things yourself. Make it a project with your kids. Learn how to make cookies. Learn how to make your own bread. Okay? I can't have dairy all the time. And so I make my own nut milks and different things. It's time to turn it around, I should say. It's time to turn that page, turn things around. And we can really start to adjust the economy with our lack of consumption. We do not have to give these people our money, not ever. Because see, I don't know, is anybody out there getting, $11,000 in food stamps? Raise your hands. Not the average American. It's not happening. But you were flooding our country with people, and artificially inflating the market. You did that. You did it. And see, other countries, unfortunately, oh man, I'm gonna have to log in. Sorry, y'all. I'm gonna have to log in to all sides. So I'm gonna have to. Oh no, I don't have to do that. I'm sorry. I went to settings. I was like, wait a minute. I'm- I was in a good groove. But again, the point I'm trying to get across to you guys is let's be more independent of the consumption wheel. We can be. Let's get back to buying locally, going to the farmers markets, going to, I would say, other businesses, even if they are, what you call it, a franchise, so to speak. They might have more than one um, business within your area. They might have multiple buildings or whatever. Just try to not shop with the average places like Walmart and Target and Kroger's. I mean, I know sometimes you're going to go there, but try to, like I said, do the farmers markets on the weekends to get your vegetables. You'll want to. You really will want to, because appeal is real, and I might have to definitely do part of my news broadcast on what appeal is and what you need to avoid, because unfortunately it's not good stuff. But before we take another break, I wanted to go over this article talking about David Hogg, because that is the young man who unfortunately was at the I want to say it was the school in Florida. I think it was Parkland, Florida. And unfortunately, some of his some of the student body passed away, but he kind of made a name for himself in politics, and he was nominated the national committee vice chair, but he might be leaving his role. So it says U.S. Democratic National Committee Chair David Hogg, who was voiced support for progressive primary challenges to Democrat incumbents running for re-election in the 2026 midterm election, said on Wednesday he will not run for his post again. Wow. The party said its members had voted 294 to 99 to redo the contest that elected Hogg and another Democrat, Malcolm Kenyatta, as vice chairs earlier this year. And I find that fascinating, because as much as, and this sometimes happens on the Republican side too, as much as they say they want young people in, when young people come in and they start shaking things up, they're like, no, you can't stay. You have to do things the way we've always done them. I'm like, what? Really? That's why you want young folks? Oh, Bobby, thank you so much for reposting the stream. Appreciate you. And again, any of you men that want to come up on the stage before the program ends at 9:00 for Mighty Men Thursday, I would appreciate it. Y'all can come on up, and we can chat it up here about whatever, I should say, topic you would like to discuss. But yes, so Mr. Hogg, let's see, in April, the DNC chair, Ken Martin, issued a warning that Hogg to back away from plans to help finance progressive primary challenges to Democrat incumbents running for re-election in the 2026 midterm elections. So I don't want to say it's like internal fighting, but it was basically something where they were like, you know what, we need to get better people in here. And so we're going to challenge our own people, right? And people were like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Get them reelected. And it's like, really? Should we? I kind of like his fire. David, call me. Just saying, the Redemption Party, we could have a conversation. Let's chat it up. So Martin's message came with the warning that Hogg could get involved in Democratic primary campaigns, but not while holding down a DNC job, as the party weighed possible rule changes to facilitate the firings of DNC officials for such activities. I find that hilarious because the DNC, y'all, you change with the wind and whatever's convenient you do. This is the same DNC that gave Hillary Clinton, the questions before her debate with Donald Trump. And it's on record. Like, y'all did that. And he came back to your DNC chair. Yeah. That person didn't get fired. They stepped down. They had to. I get it. He has got sway. As much as you don't like it, the baby has got sway. He's got some influence going on, and it terrifies you guys. And you're just like, what do we do? You're never going to be able to discredit him. You're just not. And if you make him mad enough, he's going to pull away and he's going to create another party. Because that's what happens. That's what happens with this dissent. Okay? Y'all need to figure it out. Just like the Republican Party does too. That's, like I said, that's why I have the Redemption Party. Because with the Redemption Party, we're not about ideology or about getting the job done. We are more of a movement than we are a party in such a respect. Just saying. So Martin's message came with the warning that David Hogg could get involved in Democratic primary campaigns, but not while holding down a DNC job, as the party weighed possible rule changes, not that there are any, to facilitate the firings of DNC officials for such activities. Hogg said he would raise money through an outside group, Leaders We Deserve, to foster such challenges. So he wasn't even going to directly raise money for them. He was like, I'll get this money. This baby, he's getting things done. Look, you may not like him. You may not like what he's doing, but I'm just saying he's got sway. He's got sway. It is clear that there is a fundamental disagreement about the role of a vice chair, and it's okay to have disagreements. What isn't okay is allowing this to remain our focus when there is so much more we need to be focused on, Hogg said in a statement on Wednesday. And he's not wrong about that. And it is his role to raise money. And it is his role to bring up why they're raising the money and what the money should be used for. Y'all are just mad because he's not in lockstep with you. You're mad because he is not about business as usual and you can't control him. It's crazy. Because I've decided to not run in this upcoming election so the party can focus on what really matters. And I respect that. He's taking a back seat. He's making sure that he's learning what's going on around him while raising the money, right? And he knows that there are some seats that need to be challenged, because if he doesn't challenge those seats are going to flip to Republican, like the seats in Illinois, for example. Oh, we already know that whole state's going to flip just because of what they've been doing. The Democrats think, okay, we just own this and we're just going to do whatever we want to do. Really? It's not going to work out for you guys. It really isn't. So Hogg, 25, gained national attention after surviving a 2018 mass shooting at his high school in Parkland, Florida. He became a voice for tighter gun control and has evolved into a political activist. Since then, he has been active in progressive causes, and in February won a DNC vice chair spot as the party intensified efforts to appeal to more progressive voters. Right. They were trying to appeal to more young people. But now, like that he's getting the mojo, they're like, no, don't do that. So the Democratic Party is engaged in a battle over its future after President Donald Trump won the 2024 elections, while his Republican Party won control of both chambers of Congress. That left Democrats with little ability in Washington to limit Trump's policies and sparked a wave of intra-party um I'm sorry, I'm not sure about this word. Recriminations? Intra-party recriminations. I guess that's a weird word. Okay, I'll have to look at that one. But yeah, so I find it interesting. He's flipping the party on their ear, but at the same time, the party doesn't want him to take over because they know once he gets a foothold, he will be able to kind of steer and control how the party moves and operates, right? Because people are tired of business as usual. And when they get somebody in there that shakes things up, I'm just saying, and they shake things up in the right way, people move after that. Now I know you guys might be laughing like, why are you telling David to call you? I'm telling David to call me because I'm like, hey, I do not like the way progressives destroy things, but I think you can utilize, you know what I'm saying, some of the good ideas that they do have to say, hey, this is how we can have a better country. Because at the end of the day, we all have differences of opinions. We all have different political leanings. And we need to learn, okay, what is going to work out for everyone, right? Because there's not just a small segment of the country running a larger segment. Oh, did I say the quiet part out loud? Of the country, where when it affects us on the ground, especially when it affects us locally, we need to be more abreast to what's happening. We need to be on top of it, right? And I would rather have an open dialogue with someone like him that I know is going to be a powerhouse in the next few years. He's 25. He's got some miles on him, y'all. He's got a ways to go. I'm just saying. And a lot of us, I'm in the latter part. He's in the rev up part. So I need to talk to somebody like him and say, hey, I need you to see where some of these progressive ideas didn't really help people. They hurt people. But how about looking at it through this purview? Right. And I think that's the one thing that we miss out on, being elders in the community, to actually look at our young people and say, hey, I know you're angry. I know you're upset. Let's look at the things that you're upset about and see what is a better pathway forward. Because see, in the next 10 to 20 years, I'm not going to have the stamina that I have now. And I'm going to be ramping down. But I need you, as your stamina does increase and you do have that political stance, that you're going to do what's right for the country and to your fellow man. Because sometimes we get so caught up in wanting power that we forget about how to just, on its face, basically take care of one another. I mean, really, we really forget about that. And we need to, make sure we're taking that into account. So as I'm looking through, Doge cuts over 600,000 credit cards. Okay. I'll take the bait. Yeah, I'd like to stay with some of the center stories with all sides, which I love this platform, because as you guys can see, a lot of the articles that I go to, they'll tell it from, left, right, and center. Not necessarily these. I'm actually going to a center article. But if you go to an article, it'll tell you how it was covered by different outlets and established media that you've seen out there. And so you can really see, like, wow, okay, if I get my news over here, they definitely lean left, or they lean right, or they're center, or they're left center, or they're right center, right? So it actually helps you on aggregating the news. So the tally of government credit cards dismantled by the Department of Government Efficiency has now reached over 600,000. So when they say government credit cards, it's like, what are you talking about? Well, there are some government entities that work with suppliers and different individuals at the lower levels, right? When people get contracts and anything under $10,000, typically they'll get a credit card for that and they're able to use that credit card for whatever they need it for. And some of them go higher and lower, but I'm just using that as an example. So those are the types of credit cards they're talking about. So the department said it had cut over 13% over all credit cards used by federal officials, but that there was still more work to do on the issue. And part of that might be, oh, yeah. Part of that can be how they're going about spending it. But for the most part, they are under government contracts. Or if you've heard this term called sole sourced, right? Let's just say they need pens. There literally are people making a living off of getting pens for the federal government or cups or t-shirts. And it's because the federal government can't just go out and buy these things themselves. And a lot of people say, well, why not? Because they are the federal government. They are an entity that has to use other entities that are not government entities to purchase things on their behalf or to do things on their behalf. That's why so many people get upset about these non-governmental organizations or NGOs, as they're called, even though they put out these contracts that they can bid on and they want this type of work done on behalf of the federal government. But the federal government goes, we can't really do it, but we could hire you to do it and give you the money to do it. I know it's a crazy system, but that's just how it is. How it is. So federal employees use approximately 4.6 million government credit cards. That's just the credit cards. That's not the limits on the cards. Okay. To make official purchases and manage transactions for government agency. DOJ's cuts aim to reduce the size and cost of government while addressing concerns about potential overspending and inefficiency. The scale of the reduction marks one of the largest federal government payment system overhauls in recent years and reflects ongoing efforts to reduce unnecessary spending. Because sometimes they'll have like junkets at the end of the year and they spend a lot of money. So I want to say like they're between September and November. We'll just say that, right? And that's like third and fourth quarter of the year. They will spend a ton of money because they want that money on their budget going into the next year. Because if it's one of those things, if they don't use it, they lose it, right? So say if they had a $200,000 budget for the year, this particular department, and they've only spent $150,000, they need to figure out a way to spend the $50,000 right at the end of the year, justify it and not make it look crazy. And so they can't have a party, but they can buy pens. They can buy t-shirts. They can, you know what I'm saying? And they will do these things and they will have government contracts for them. I might do that this week and just bring up one of the government agencies outside of SAM.gov, because I know everybody goes, what about SAM.gov? Yeah, there is SAM.gov, but there actually are some other government portals that can be used. Now, you do still need to have a SAM.gov registration if you plan on participating, right, and getting those contracts. But not everything is on SAM.gov. That's all I'm saying. So, in a statement on Friday, X, formerly known Twitter, Doge said it had cut around 610,000 credit cards across more than 50 government departments and agencies. That's big. So, credit card update. After 14 weeks of the program to audit unused, unneeded credit cards has expanded to 55 agencies, resulting in roughly 610,000 deactivated cards. As a reminder, at the start of the audit, there were 4.6 million active cards/accounts, more work to do, Doge wrote. That's okay. Wow. So a little bit more than 1%, right? Because 1% would be like 400,000 cards. So they got 600,000 cards. But see, that's money that's saved for us. Because you got to remember, whenever something like this is happening and you see, oh, these contracts and this and that, that's our tax dollars paying for that. That's still our money. A lot of times I think people disassociate themselves from government contracts thinking that this money just falls out the sky. It doesn't fall out of the sky. It's our money, everyone. So when I see government or let's say NGOs helping people that are not from this country with, legal assistance, it chaps my hide. Because you're not from here. You're not using your own money to pay us to help you. You're using our money to help you. And you're not even a citizen here. It's crazy. And it sounds crazy for me to even say it like that, but that's what's happening to us. We need to do better. And we can, and we are. And I'm very grateful for it. So Doge has been making regular cuts to government card systems since the beginning of President Donald Trump's second administration. By May, Doge had removed over 500,000 credit cards, which is good. So in February, Trump's executive order froze almost all agency employee credit cards, with the exception of those who use them for disaster relief or natural disaster response benefits or operations or other critical services. Agency heads and Doge leaders also permitted categorical and individual exceptions to some credit card holders. Well, I'm glad. I really, really am glad that they were able to get that done because, when we don't see how our money is spent by the government and we're really, how should I say it? We're really not abreast to what's going on. There's billions and trillions of dollars of our tax dollars spent on things that we may not necessarily agree with, or we may not even know that it's going on. That's the part. We don't even know what's going on. But when we need something, sometimes, depending on who you are, the group, they'll be like, oh, we don't have that money. Wait a minute. You just spent $5 billion over here in Ukraine. What do you mean you don't have the money? We have the money. It's where it's being spent, how it's being spent, and what we want it spent on. See, a lot of people like defense contracting. If anybody has noticed, we are in a quagmire of just things going on in Iran and Iraq and Israel and Ukraine and Russia, and all of those things take defense contracts. Yeah, I'm going to have to look that up for y'all and just let you see where our tax dollars are going and who our tax dollars are going to that actually get those defense contracts. Because when they get those contracts, that is literally our tax dollars funding it. Yeah, we fund all of this stuff. But a lot of times we don't see it that way because of the double speak, in my opinion, where, you'll see some government officials saying, well, we needed to get this and that done so you could have this and so you could have that. And it's like, wait a minute, but I'm suffering over here. We got homelessness rampant over here, but you can send billions of dollars and try to justify sending billions of dollars one place, but you're not taking care of home. And again, do you even want to eradicate homelessness, or do you want to just continue to make money off of homelessness? Because those are government contracts too, by the way. Yeah, that's happening also. So, government contracting, it's good and bad. Good if you can get it to help others and truly help others according to the contracts that you bid on and that you win. But it can also be a detriment to others when you're just using the government contract to enrich yourself and you're not using that funding to actually end the, situation that it's helping. Like I said, homelessness has become a business. Poverty has become a business. They don't want to fix that because then where would their money come from? Yeah. It's stuff like that that keeps me up at night. But you know what, guys? We're at the end of our program. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited that the community is growing. I'm looking into getting some merch so you guys can, help support the program. And if there's any sponsors that you guys know of out there that would like to be a sponsor on Unfiltered Vision News, please let me know. You can send me an email at unfilteredvisionnews@gmail.com. Or you can send me a direct message on X. And we are live on X, Facebook, and YouTube. So again, everybody, thank you for joining me. And we will see you tomorrow. And have a great one. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered.